Francis, if you could say the pledge.
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, those brave men and women that are fighting the fight in the Ukraine. Thank you. Tonight's public hearing has to deal with, is Valerie here? Valerie, if we could come up and talk a little bit about the adjustment to the Purchasing Authority Ordinance that was approved at Town Council already. The next step is to have a public hearing so that we will be completed. Valerie, could you talk a little bit about the update to the Purchasing Authority?
Hi, good evening. Valerie Douglas. I am the purchasing specialist for the town. We have been in the process of trying to update our purchasing ordinance to bring it much more current. It was written several decades ago and is not really relevant for today. Some of the things that we did do as far as the ordinance was to increase limits. That would be limits of when did we need to get quotes, when do we need to go out to bid, and it raised that up from 10,000 to 20,000 for going out to bid. It will have some effect, not a huge effect, but it does take some things out that we would not have to go out to bid for, and make it more of a quote type of deal. We also updated to reference our new e-procurement system. It's a great system which allows us to handle more bids fairly and have everybody get the same information at the same time. And so it's a great system. It also allows for the acceptance of cooperative contracts, which the town is a member of several cooperatives, so we can tie into those pricing structures, and it also allows the town to have another option to save money. So those are some of the things that we've incorporated into the new ordinance.
Any council members have any questions for Valerie? I know we went over this at our council meeting, but do you have any questions for Valerie? Katie?
One quick question. So this will definitely make things more streamlined, more efficient all the way around for you and for the bidding.
Absolutely. It'll definitely keep the process moving a lot smoother for people who are looking to make, departments looking to make purchases.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Val.
Any other questions? Okay. Anybody from the public that would like to ask any questions of Valerie concerning our Purchasing Authority Ordinance Revision? Okay. Like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. We will be opening our town council meeting at 7 p.m. We could all stand for the pledge, please. Sal, can you lead us to the pledge?
Who?
Sal?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, those brave men and women fighting the good fight in the Ukraine. Thank you. Sal?
Mr. Tony
Bender.
Good evening, I'm Tony Bengrove, 7 Carl's Lane. I would like to address the farmer assistance proposal before the council tonight. First, for some background context, my experience in agriculture and food goes back to the earliest days of my career. I've held corporate director level positions in herbal supplements, smokeless tobacco, both which involved kind of a seed to shelf product development story and required frequent engagement, research, and planning with farmers and scientists. Since starting my own consulting firm 10 years ago, I've advised several startups in agriculture, ag tech, as well as organic beverages and distilled spirits. One of the largest purchasers of Connecticut-grown grains in the state is a current client. Prior to COVID, I wrote a regular food entrepreneur column in a local magazine, hope to do that again. And I also serve on the Corporation for New Milford Economic Development, but I speak tonight as a private citizen. After the topic of the farmer's assistant proposal came up during the last 2 town council meetings, my curiosity piqued, and I requested a copy of the proposal to review more closely. The intent of the proposal states, and I quote, "To strengthen agricultural infrastructure, support the farming industry in New Milford, improve water quantity and quality, protect our environment, give rise to food grade and security, and support families in need, as well as our seniors with access to a fresh, locally grown food source," end quote. That's a lofty set of goals, all worthy endeavors, I totally agree, but there's a lot there. So what strikes me about this statement is that there are already multiple organizations, programs, and people currently doing great work in these areas, both locally and regionally. The agri-ecosystem is complex and highly interconnected, and that's before you bring in state and federal authorities into the picture. By the time you get to the 11 recommendations highlighted at the end of the current proposal, the areas of consideration expand to include tactics such as education programs, classes and activities, farmer demo days, farmer assistance funds, food vouchers, and more. There's some good ideas in there, but again, it's a lot. Before the town considers funding new programs and infrastructure in this area, I think it is essential to create a needs assessment to understand where redundancies exist and where gaps could be filled. I'm not talking about hiring in a big expensive consultant. I'm talking about a local team that just kind of sits around a table and builds a document. We might conclude by that exercise that some solutions would be better addressed by scaling up existing infrastructure rather than starting from scratch. I would not approve the funding request without completing this exercise. I think the proposal as it stands is way too broad, not nearly focused enough, and suffers from everything but the kitchen sink syndrome. With a requested budget of $150,000, I think many of us recognize these funds would be spread too thin if allocated as currently proposed. The budget conversation also brings into question how will the new programs and infrastructure birthed by this proposal be funded beyond their initial funding stage? Will the town be required to fund them? Will nonprofits take on some of the responsibilities? Will grants be pursued? How will they be sustainable? Or is the idea just to fund short-term one-time projects? Also, who will do the work to create all the programming classes and so forth? At the last 2 council meetings, I heard some members request that they would like to hear from additional farmers about the proposal and their specific needs. I'm first up, so there might be some that come to the podium tonight. But it does seem to me that a large coalition of farmers and other groups in agriculture has not been built to date around the opportunity. And that begs the question, why, for me? I spoke to a few local farmers myself who told me they are actually doing well, that the COVID years have reinvigorated their businesses. That doesn't mean there aren't opportunities and improvements to make, of course, but it seems to me there isn't a local farming crisis that is in dire need of attention. I think the council should also clarify what role Mr. Caranta wants to play in all of this, if any. Does he want to be a member of the proposed committee? He brought the proposal forward, but his desired role is unclear to me. So in conclusion, I don't believe the proposal is ready for a vote tonight. And to be honest, I'm of the opinion that the council should consider taking a time out from allocating the remaining ARPA funds. With all the rapid and disconcerting changes happening in the world right now, I think it would be prudent to keep some funds available to ensure financial agility so that we can respond quickly to yet to be identified community needs. And for the proponents of the farm proposal, this would buy you time to re-engineer a document that is received, at least by me, as more focused, strategic, and feasible. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie Russo?
Hi, my name is Charlie Joan Russo. I live at 39 Mistill Drive, and I am 7 years old. I am in 2nd grade, and I want to live on a healthy planet. I want to have healthy food and clean water and air. I want the world to be a better place. We are a family of 6, and we eat a really healthy organic diet. We have a really big garden, and we help our parents pick fruits and veggies all season long. We don't really ever get sick, so we don't need to take medicine. My parents say that if we bring health back to the soil, we can make people healthy again like we did in our house. I wish the world could be like my family. The power is in the food. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Excellent job.
Thank you. My name is Martin Russo. I live at 39 Mist Hill Drive here. I'm supporting the Farmer and Farmland Assistance Program, and that was my daughter Charlie who just spoke, and that, my friends, is what this organic regenerative agriculture movement is all about. It's about our children's future and their children's future and all the future generations to come, if there are to be any. Because many top environmental experts and scientists are predicting that if we maintain our current conventional agricultural practices and continue to destroy our soil and our planet, my daughter will not be granted her God-given right to live out her life and to fulfill her dreams, as well as all the other children of the world. That is just not acceptable to me, and it shouldn't be acceptable to anyone else here as well. Now, we have a tremendous opportunity before us with this Farmer and Farmland Assistance Program to do something life-changing for our children, as well as every resident of our community and beyond. It's not a question of if it needs to be supported. It's a question of when it needs to be supported, and the answer is now. It needs to be supported today. I ask you, do you want to be the group of elected officials that did something monumental for the lives and longevity of your citizens in town? Are the ones that block the most essential and significant program to come across your desk in decades? Do you want to be proactive and do something to improve the quality of life for every resident of New Milford, or sit back and be reactive? I certainly hope it's not the latter, because if you choose to be reactive, it's going to be too late. Now, this movement to improve our agricultural system needs to start from the ground up, because it's certainly not going to come from the top down. It begins with everyday people like us and town governments like you. And it will spread like a wildfire out of control once other towns and cities see the amazing things we're doing here for our people and for our environment. And make no mistake, this organic regenerative agriculture movement is going to happen because it needs to happen for our survival, for our children's survival, and our planet's survival. Let's embrace and bolster our farmers and make them the next heroes of this world. So please join us and support the Farmer and Farmland Assistance Program and become the leader and the poster child of this most imperative and far-reaching movement of our lifetime. You'll be investing in the lives of your townspeople that I promise you will pay dividends for years, for decades, and for generations to come. Thank you.
Ashley?
We have a big family, so it's just the three of us. I guess that we spared you. Hi, my name's Ashley Russo. I live at 39 Mistill Drive. I've lived in this town since I was 4. I went to Hill and Plain, Schaghticoke, and graduated in Milford High School in 2003. I got married on the green at St. John's, and I'm raising my family here. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand how much of my heart is in this initiative, and because I love this town. I'm also a registered Republican. American agriculture has expanded more in the space of a single lifetime than in the whole world's agriculture over the past 7,000 years. History teaches us that a nation's growth is based on its agriculture because it's the basis for all life. Our agriculture system is broken. The way that the system has been industrialized is not sustainable at all. And our direct result is that our soil is sick, our people is sick, and our planet is sick. Agriculture can either be part of the solution or it can remain to be the #1 problem. It's responsible today for 30% of carbon emissions, 70% of fresh water use, and 60% of biodiversity loss. We are in the 6th mass extinction on this planet, and if we do not choose to do something about this now, the consequences will be enormous. What if I told you that the top scientists, environmental and researchers in this area are saying that there's only enough topsoil for the next 60 years to harvest? 60 years. That's a failed system, and we have to move on from it. In a properly functioning ecosystem, plants and animals are part of a symbiotic relationship. That relationship is void in factory farming. The fact that we have created artificial soil devoid of life grows artificial plants full of chemicals, which gives rise to artificial humans who rely on laboratory-created artificial medications to sustain what we now see as health. The premise of regenerative agriculture, organic agriculture, is to grow in a way that we protect the next generation of farmers. This practice takes the best parts of organic growing and it combines it with technology and nature's own divinely created life cycles to generate the best outcomes for our soil health, for animal welfare, for labor, for farmers, for our local economy, and ultimately the community as a whole. The point is to create a world that actually has a future and is sustainable. It's time to shift paradigms in New Milford, and the only way to do that is to bring health back to the soil. Healthy soil gives life to nutrient-dense plants, which in turn feed humans the way that they were created to eat. These humans can build a strong resilience in the community, one who can stand together and survive the next set of existential crises that is headed our way. A community who won't suffer at the fall of a food shortage. A community who has a decrease in the number of children diagnosed with autism. A community who is empowered to be food independent and educated in how to do so. This is what we need in our society, in our town, and I honestly feel like what you have before you is a beautiful gift. Be the council that shifts to change this future with us. Pull together with us on this, and you will be the government who ushered in a true green wave movement right here in New Milford for all the world to see. I definitely would like to just take a second and comment on Mr. Vengrove's
response. I agree. I think that there are a tremendous amount of resources, especially in this genre of healing earth, and I think that that is why it is imperative that a committee be formed that can kind of streamline and oversee how we're going to utilize those resources as well as the funds. This isn't, writing a check to a local resident saying, here, you figure this out. This needs to definitely be done properly, and from our viewpoint, we think it should be done hand in hand with the municipality because it is such an important thing to do for our society. One other thing that I want to say is
You got 30 seconds left, sir.
perfect. In the New Milford's Plan of Conservation and Development, which was a massive packet that we read through that you guys graciously printed out or supplied us, a community survey states that 68% of the people in this town agreed that water protection needs to be addressed. 61% rated the loss of farmland and rural character as of the highest concern. And 56% strongly agreed that the town needs to focus on protecting farmland and core forests from development. Higher than 50% in all three of those. I think that this definitely needs to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Michael Anastas.
Hello, I'm Mike Anastas. I live at Lake Point Drive, and I want to thank you for letting me speak this evening. I'm here tonight to support the proposal to use just a little bit of the ARPA funds to start a reformative new way of agriculture in New Milford, not just more of the same. These people are talking about something dramatically different. This could provide healthy, nutritious, organic food for our schools, our seniors, and those shopping at the food pantry. Today, my wife came home from the supermarket saying there weren't any cucumbers except the organic, and she hated paying the premium. The organic food is so much more expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Think of what might happen in New Milford if New Milford uses some of this vast public land to launch a new way to raise healthy food and provide nutrition for the public. Think of the excitement that could generate. I mean, think about it. Think of the television crews that would show up to show how we raise food here. The national press is always looking for the next big new thing, and this we could hand it to them. There are so many tangible and intangible benefits for the mayor and town council adopting this program and making it their own. You could claim that you're helping to improve the health of your citizens, especially students, seniors, and families in need, because they would be the first recipients. You could claim that you support new ways for local agriculture and farming to grow and prosper in New Milford. We need them. We need them badly, and we can help them grow better, more nutritional food by this program. You could claim to be ahead of the time by adding food quality and security while curbing climate change and teaching our community. You can claim improvements in agriculture, job sector that we could set an example for the rest of Connecticut and for all of New England. We've got the land to do it. We've got lots of land. We have the experienced farmers ready to try it. And we have a proven formula to make it happen that is being offered to you. Please approve the motion as was stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Danielle?
Good evening. My name is Yacilitis. I live at 12 Barnes Lane. I am a local small farmer, what you would consider a micro farmer. We have 2 acres of property, and this type of assistance would help people like us. We are JD Farms, and as you've seen on social media, we have wonderful alpacas we want to bring to this community. However, we're being faced with a lot of financial and emotional hardships set forth from certain people and issues in this town. And something like this would give us the ability to expand, the ability to also increase in biodiversity. We want to grow crops. However, we don't know where to begin. And something like this, having educational classes, gives us the ability to go in, learn, take notes, go back. We have a wonderful little piece of property where we have separated off where we could actually grow crops, but we don't want to till and destroy the soil. If we had the ability to create plants in agricultural above the ground, we can keep everything in the soil just the way it is without having to continuously destroy it and shove fertilizer and pesticides down it. This would give us the ability to grow organic foods, provide for small communities in our area of the town, and be able to give back. We're first responders. We want to do what we want to do because that's what we do. We give back and we put ourselves on the front line. And if this assistance program were to pass, people like myself and other small farmers in New Milford would be able to get this fund and be able to put it to good use and exactly what it was meant to be used for. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anybody else from the public, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Next is proclamation. Chief, you could come up.
Here she comes again.
I know the chief and I, as well as the full department and the community, all are in tandem due to the loss of Drake. Today, we'd like to name this day Canine Drake Day. Whereas Canine Drake, a German Shepherd born in the Czech Republic, entered service of the New Milford Police Department in 2012. Was certified as a dual-purpose patrol and narcotics canine. During his 9 years of service, Drake was assigned to Officer Mark Williams and lived with his family. Sadly, 3 months after his retirement, Drake lost his battle with cancer on March 5th, 2022. And whereas Drake assisted and was successful in numerous narcotics investigations in the town of New Milford and surrounding towns, including assisting the Connecticut State Police Narcotics Task Force. And whereas earlier in his canine career, Drake was able to track an incapacitated high school student who was reported missing after school. In another incident, Officer Williams and Drake were called in at 1 a.m. in the morning for a lost individual in a wooded area. Following a 2-mile track, Drake located the individual. And whereas towards the end of Drake's career, while working day shift, the New Milford Police Department Dispatch Center received a 911 call from a male party who stated that he wanted to harm himself. During the investigation, it was determined the male party was on Danbury Road in the area of Waters Construction. Officer Williams and Drake, with the assistance of Lieutenant Grabner, then Sergeant, performed a search track for the male party. Drake was able to locate the incapacitated male party. Sergeant Grabner and Officer Williams rendered medical aid to the male party prior to the arrival of medical personnel. And whereas Drake served on the United States Presidential Security Detail, following a tragic incident at Sandy Hook, Connecticut, Officer Williams and Drake assisted the Secret Service for the visitation arrival of President Barack Obama. And whereas Officer Williams and Drake also performed numerous demonstrations and met with several groups that toured the police department, which included Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Canine Drake passed on his duties to Canine L on December 3rd, 2021. Now therefore I, Pete Bass, on behalf of the residents of the town of New Milford, to hereby proclaim March 14th, 2022 as Canine Drake Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. We really appreciate the recognition tonight. More so, we appreciate the recognition from the community over the last week. The cards and the calls and the thoughts were really appreciated. Officer Williams and his family have had a tough week. The community support has certainly helped us. Canine Drake was an excellent friend and family member to all of us. So again, thank you all for your support. Officer Williams, thank you for all you do.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
That our social workers who've done wonderful work for our community. We're also going to talk about Social Work Month. Whereas the social work profession for decades has been dedicated to improving human well-being and enhancing the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable among us, particularly during the global pandemic. And whereas this year's Social Work Month theme, "The Time is Right for Social Work," embodies how social workers rose to meet the most pressing challenges of our lifetimes. The COVID-19 pandemic, even as our nation continues to grapple with systematic racism, economic inequality, global warming, and other crises. And whereas social workers are the largest group of mental health care providers in the United States and work daily to help people, whether in person or remotely, overcome substance use disorders and mental illness, such as depression and anxiety. And whereas social workers have always helped people overcome issues such as death and grief, and help people in communities recover from increasing natural disasters, such as fires, hurricanes, earthquakes, brought on by climate change. And whereas the social workers have helped this nation live up to its values by successfully advocating for equal rights for all, including Black, Indigenous, people of color, those who are LGBTQA, religious groups, and others. And whereas the social worker's profession is one of the fastest growing careers in the United States, with more than 715,000 social workers today and nearly 800,000 professionals expected to be employed as social workers by 2028. Whereas social workers have continued to push for changes that have made our society a better place to live, including a livable wage, improved workplace safety, and social safety net programs that help obliterate poverty, hunger, and homelessness. And whereas social workers possess the necessary expertise to assist our nation in some of the most demanding concerns, including their health and well-being, not only during the pandemic, but at all times, ensuring equal rights, improved health care, and mental health care for all. And whereas the social workers work at all facets of our society to meet people, no matter their circumstance, and empower them to live to their fullest potential. Now, therefore, in recognition of the numerous contributions made by American social workers, I, Pete Bass, proclaim the month of March 2022 as National Social Work Month and call upon all citizens to join the National Association of Social Workers in the town of New Milford in celebration and support of the social work profession. And we do have our wonderful social workers here, some tonight, and I'd like to call them up and present them with a certificate of recognition, and it's all the same. So I'd like to first start off with our Director of Social Services, Ivana Gutierrez. Ivana, if you could come up. Milford would like to recognize you during National Social Worker Month for the help you provide to those seeking happiness, health, and stability in the challenging world. Thank you. I'm proud of you. Thank you. And our next one is Jason O'Connor. Jason, Director of our Youth Agency. The town of Milford would like to recognize you during the National Social Worker Month for your help to provide those seeking happiness, health, stability in a challenging world. Thank you. Milford Armstrong. Thank you. Is Sarah here tonight? Come on up, Sarah. Sarah, kind of the same. The town of New Milford would like to recognize Sarah Wells during National Social Worker Month for the help you provide to those seeking happiness, health, and stability in a challenging world. Thank you, Milford. Is Lauren here tonight? All right, Lauren, come on up. Lauren, the town of New Milford would like to recognize you during National Social Worker Month for the help you provide to those seeking happiness, health, and stability in a challenging world. We thank you. We'll go for the Armstrong. And I don't think Maria could make it, so could we give this to Maria? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Hey Pete, while Ivana's here, I'm hearing a lot about needs for food drives. You want to maybe while you have the bully pulpit speak about how we really need help? I know we're doing one at the club, and it seems like it's a big need right now.
Sure. If I'm going to speak, I'd love Lauren to come and step next to me. Most of you haven't even met her, and she's our social worker, volunteer coordinator, and when she's not busy doing that, of course, she manages the food bank.
Yeah.
So it's because of her good work that I'm even aware these days of what we're missing in the food bank. So right now, basically, this is March, and the holidays are over. Folks are moving on, and so sometimes around this time we do lag in some food donations. We are still able to purchase some things. We're still negotiating with stores who are lacking of supplies. So that's been a challenge. So of course we're looking to our community to help supplement some things that are just really just harder to buy in bulk. So some of the specifics would be cereal, white rice, cat food specifically, that seems to be empty shelves, and as a cat owner I can testify to that. Our soups, outside of chicken soup, we just seem to have an abundance of one kind, but there's a lot of healthy soups out there that we're looking to add to the choices. Personal care items, of course, a lot of our folks, those prices are going up. And a lot of our folks, especially our most vulnerable, those that are disabled, seniors, or families that are receiving SNAP, you cannot buy personal care items on SNAP. So that is definitely something that we look to try to do. And once a month, we're able to build our supply. So once a month, we're able to open up our what we call our personal care closet, if you will, and offer those things. So you really want to get into specifics?
No,
here?
I'm just, so bring them to you at the...
Donations can be accepted Monday through Friday, 8 to, we'd like to say 3 o'clock to give us a chance to wrap everything up. We have a tent outside, so if you choose not to come inside or it's a large donation. If it's going to be a food drive, as your club has done in the past and will do again, then we coordinate with our volunteers to pick up or help unload your vehicles. When we get here, just a little bit of planning, so we make sure we have the volunteers available. If not, the tent is there, and we just ask that you don't bring donations over the weekends or in the evening, since we're not there to unload. Just give us that chance to do so. But first thing in the morning before you go to work is great, and on your way home before 4 o'clock would be amazing.
And Ivana, I think you know this, but the New Milford Rotary Club on April the 9th is doing a drive up and drop off, but people can bring things here, and it's the Unfood Drive. This is diapers for adults and for children. There are 13 million adults in this country and rising every day who need diapers. Babies grow out of them, but adults don't. And they're very expensive. We also are asking people to bring detergent, clothing detergent, cleaning products, paper towels. Those are the things that cost a lot of money, and we all need to use them. So people can, April 9th, I didn't bring a flyer, but drive over to Pettibone between 9 and noon, and we'll take it from you and bring it right inside to your storeroom.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and as you might have said this, but yeah, diapers, we're looking for larger sizes The babies do not last in ones and twos
And
for
adults.
very long, and of course the adult diapers, but even babies,
Yeah.
they tend to be in 4s, 5s, and 6s a lot sooner and a lot longer
Right.
than any other sizes. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of different organizations, businesses, run donations for us. Our major supermarkets will have bins at the ends of their, at the front of their stores. So again, if someone can't get to us, they can put them into those bins. Twice a month, we have one of our local churches out on the green, standing there waiting for donations. Just drive by, slow down enough to let the volunteer get the food out, and be on your way. We're so fortunate that people have been thinking out of the box to make things creative enough to help support these families, and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many families? We're serving about 300 families a month on average. Yep, on average we see about 155 to 185 come in weekly, because they don't all come in weekly.
Once a week they come and
They can come once a week.
On Thursdays, is that the
They
day?
come on Thursdays between 9 and 4. They're leaving with multiple bags of food that don't just include the what we call shelf-stable food, but we've been fortunate enough to have fresh vegetables and frozen meats and dairy products. So it's been a real healthy, and actually in honor of National Nutrition Month, which is March, right now we're really happy to be able to offer those kinds of food in addition to the shelf-stable food. And Lauren's been also doing some education within the food bank to also open up their eyes to some different things that maybe they haven't tried yet.
Great.
You guys do a wonderful
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to add the adoption of the revised purchasing ordinance as was approved at the public hearing this evening.
Any discussion?
So
So we approved that at our
Right.
last meeting?
we're adding
We
this
had
to
our-
the consent
We
agenda?
adopt it. I'm going
We
to
had
add
our-
it to the agenda, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where
That's what
are you,
I'm-
where are
That's
you,
my motion.
No, is the consent agenda? or
where
is it
are
just-
you adding this, Katie? At the end of the evening, or where are you?
I can add it anywhere
Where?
you'd like, I suppose.
I don't have a preference, I was just.
I
saying-
would probably put it at the end, then I don't have to reconnoiter all the other numbers around.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
So,
That's good.
if you'd like to know, I'll make it item 12.
12.
How's that? Item 12.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 4, motion to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the prior minutes of February 28th. There's nothing from tax collector today. And item C, which is to accept, for the Milford Police Department, to accept a donation of $1,425 from the Hometown Foundation. This donation is to be used to help pay for Canine Ella's attendance at the Bloodhound Training, which is a 40-man-hour training seminar next month, April 2022.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda?
Issues again with the minutes. So,
Okay.
I have some real concerns about the minutes. There are items that, including a statement I said that's misrepresented in the minutes. So, I'm going to be voting a no, but I really have issue with that we are continually having issues with minutes, things that need to be corrected. Then I'm looking for the corrections in the next set of minutes and I don't see them. So, some real concerns, and items that were actually left out completely.
Well, can I just ask a question? Just a point of order, nothing against what you're saying. Are our minutes verbatim minutes? I do minutes for some committees, and I usually say that the minutes are not
No.
intended to be a verbatim account.
And I agree with you,
Right,
Katie,
okay.
absolutely agree.
No, I'm just saying it so
I'm
that other
looking for
people
that,
know.
but the intent is, if there's a statement in the minutes.
Intention is important.
And it doesn't represent what was actually said and acknowledged,
right.
then that to me is a misrepresentation of what was said.
So, do you,
Are there ones that you would like to amend?
Yeah, I
That we
was
could
gonna ask.
amend
I have
the minutes?
multiples, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
My concern is that this is going to take a while, and I really feel
Would
that
you,
it's inappropriate.
would you like us to table these minutes? And then
I
you
would
can,
appreciate it.
you
I'm
can
happy
give
to work
those to
with-
Stephanie and we can
Yeah.
bring them back to the next meeting?
Yes,
Normally over
Absolutely.
the years, we would make corrections on the spot.
There are
We've seen
too
it
many,
before.
Mr.
are these
I would-
major
I would submit
changes,
them
or?
for correction, I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, we have-
I'm not disagreeing, if you have an issue, submit them, and
Feel you were misrepresented, I agree.
The only point is, we need to say, we all need to agree on the minutes.
That's
So-
right.
So.
That's right.
so we
I'm
can't
not
agree.
saying, I just need the correct information to
Yep.
be there, because that's what the public needs to be able to see.
So you'd like to table it to the
I would
next
agree.
meeting on the 28th?
Yes.
All right,
please.
should I rephrase my motion?
We just withdraw it and
We'll
then have
just
somebody,
withdraw. I withdraw my motion.
do we have somebody
and-
withdrawing the second?
Tom?
Second.
Okay,
Do we have a
so,
motion to table?
Aye.
so approved.
Okay. And a second?
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, so my motion to approve consent agenda, New Milford Police Department, as I stated before, $1,425 for Ella's training. That was a donation from the Hometown Foundation.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Item number 5, motion to approve the appointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Garrett Stroll, the term is February 28th, 2022 through November 30th, 2023. And he's filling a vacancy on that board.
Yes.
Second.
We have another one. Also, the motion to appoint Michael Sinello to the Sports Complex Feasibility Temporary Committee, term being March 14th, 2022 through July 31st, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Yep. You and I hopefully can meet next week.
Okay, I hadn't heard anything, and it was 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, we have an update from Dr. Levin.
Good evening, Mayor, everybody. It's very good to see you. Nice to see you. Apologize for the coats. I'd forgotten that winter's nearly over. I'd like to report again a continued trend of positive news as we see this. What we see in front of us is a continued diminution of the rates of COVID dropping across the United States. The rates of death are dropping as well, but there are areas that are anomalous. Those areas are overwhelmingly those where vaccination has not taken place. Death at this stage in the United States is largely those who are not vaccinated. So number one, we look with optimism to that, and that if we can encourage vaccination, compliments again to the town for the program they put in place for doing this. It's very good. Around the globe, we're also seeing a drop, except in several areas. Number one is in China, where they had a zero COVID policy. In other words, they would lock off towns. We're now seeing bursts of towns getting locked down, Hong Kong being one, Shenzhou being another. These are actually where they have a single breakdown. They basically lock down the whole town. And they're also seeing deaths, but they're not reporting any of their deaths. We're not getting any real information out of China at this stage. We do know that that it's caused disruption industrially, and the supply chain of a number of different companies are being hit in this country. That's China. In Europe, though, we see a slightly different circumstance, which is very worrisome. In countries where they previously had seen a drop, you're seeing now a doubling of rates, specifically the Netherlands and Germany. And we'll have to keep an eye on that. So while we're doing well, those parts of the world are not doing so great, which means, as I've said before, we should just keep an eye on it because we're doing right. There's no question of that. And I think this requires the testing on aircrafts, and before people get on from those parts of the world, we want to make sure that they don't have COVID. So I completely endorse the statements by several of the aircraft companies that they are going to continue testing vigorously as people come into this country. With regard to new developments, it's actually it's really important for us to get a sense of this. The disappointing results with children, the 2 to 5 year olds under the Pfizer trial, was in large measure considered to be due to the drop in the dose that they gave, which they were giving a 3 milligram dose. Pfizer has adjusted that and will submit data with a third dose for the children and we'll submit that in April. So with a bit of luck, we'll see that the kids under the age between 2 and 5 will get a dose. The other aspect with regard to vaccination, as we look at it now, I think a couple of weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we spoke about the probability of a 4th dose to be given. Almost certainly that will be forthcoming. They're not talking about it very widely at the CDC. They're still trying to get people to agree to the full vaccination, the 3-dose vaccination, but almost certainly the evidence out of Israel is conclusive that you have significant protection against any kind of hospitalization or death once you've had that 4th dose, and I can't see that they won't go on with that. The encouraging side, in addition to that, is we're now moving to concepts of annual dosing, and Pfizer is preparing for and making public statements that they have got a trial ongoing for a universal COVID vaccine, which I think we should all regard as being exactly what we want to return to our normal life. So with that, I think at this stage, I think we should feel encouraged. I don't think we should let our guard down. One needs to be still vigilant, but it is looking extremely encouraging, particularly in parts of the country which have been sensible, like we have here. Other parts of the country, I would caution you as you go to them, make sure that, particularly in the Midwest, there are some very, very infected towns. Make sure you look at the dose. If you're trying to travel there or you're expecting guests from those parts of the country, please take a look where they're coming from, because they will have been exposed heavily. Thank you.
Doctor.
Any
questions
questions?
for Dr. Levin? Katie?
I read that Moderna is going to be building a factory in Nairobi.
Yes.
Take them about a year and a half. Will that be too little, too late, or is that good? I mean, they said it was good.
Long term, it's super good. As I said to you previously, the really big danger is the immunocompromised people who act as incubators for variants. And unfortunately, the African continent has a substantial number of those. Yeah. Nairobi has a very high HIV population, the same in South Africa. And the more one can get those vaccinated, the less we get affected. So I think it's a very good investment. The other thing they did, Katie, is they said they're not going to protect, they're not going to pursue people who are going after their patents in those parts of the world.
Well, that's good.
So it's a little late, but I think it's definitely the right thing to do.
Do you think they'll do some education so that the population will take the vaccine?
They do in Africa. They'll take it like this.
Okay.
They are far more ready to take vaccinations than we are. Far more. All they want is dosages of it.
Great. Oh, hopefully there'll be other factories in other places.
Yes, in fact, there are several others that are being contemplated actually around the world. There's one which is contemplated in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, another one that's being contemplated in the Middle East, in Qatar, and then several others that have been put in place, and I expect them to be built. It should take the weight of us. The danger is that these countries don't get vaccinated, and then it just comes straight back here in a different variant.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Dr. Levin? Mike?
Yeah, I know I've talked about it before, but we keep hearing so much more about the vaccinations, but there's some antivirals and preventive, and it just seems like they always get lost in the discussion, and so I guess can you comment on how we're doing with preventive, and then antivirals in case people do get sick? It seems strange that there's not the protocols. Like if someone gets cancer, Harvard's got a protocol. This is what you do, and I haven't seen that or heard about that for this vaccine. And I'm just wondering why it hasn't been created.
So there are two different concepts behind them. One is to prevent you getting it, and then in addition, even if you get it, then to prevent you going to hospital.
Correct.
That's really the home base of vaccines. Then there's the other, which is the antiviral. I've got it, and I'm going to go and take it, and I'm going to prevent myself coming into hospital by getting this. That would be ideal. The problem with that is that, as I think a month or two ago, I went through some of the types of pills that exist. Those antivirals are not yet ready for mass market. They are in extraordinary short supply. They also are like the beginnings of HIV, when the disaster with HIV, when that came, essentially you had handfuls of pills. And we're right there, the same thing. We've got handfuls of pills. It's 4 and 4. And you take it for, a period of days, and then you should be okay. But you've got to get it real early. So it means your testing protocol has to be put in place. Then you have to be conscious that you have a lot of pills. And I anticipate, quite frankly, Mike, this will change. This will change.
It seems strange we did Operation Warp Speed to get the vaccination, but not the same push to get the antivirals, because as we found out this past winter, the vaccination wasn't foolproof in you getting COVID. And so it seems like that the whole, besides the vaccine, we didn't do enough, I feel, as a country to look at other ways to keep this pandemic from going crazy.
So in total, there are 800 programs, and of those 800 programs, approximately 300 were vaccine programs, and 300 were antiviral. The other 200 were looking at old stuff and seeing do they work. The 300 that were started in antivirals were against the backdrop that most antivirals, oral antivirals, have failed. Most of them have failed. It doesn't matter where you go. For years, this has been a problem. People haven't figured out how to gum up the machinery of a virus sufficiently so that it, one, will die, won't replicate, or two, and this is the real danger, that it won't find a way of getting around it and mutating very fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very different problem for the oral programs. So you have to get something that is clearly going to be metabolized by your body, is clearly going to hit the virus, and is going to prevent it turning into a wicked thing inside your body. And unfortunately, the history of antivirals has told us that when you take these pills, you end up with the problem. So we have, of the 300 programs, very few have risen to the level of saying, here we go, we've got it. You are correct on one item though, Mike, and that is that Warp Speed was largely focused on manufacturing. And the manufacturing investment was all done in vaccines. There was a reason for this. It's real simple to manufacture small molecules, which are the oral ones, it's actually really trivial. So if you look at the numbers, they look disparate. Looks like you're spending a lot of money on the vaccines and less a little tiny on the small molecules. And that's actually costs about $400 million to build a plant for vaccines. And you can do maybe $100 million, or you can reconfigure an existing plant for small molecules. So I would far prefer to have a small molecule that worked, but it doesn't.
It hasn't gotten there yet.
No.
Any other questions for Dr. Lev? Thank you, Dr. Lev.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Any comments?
Piggybacking on Dr. Levin, giving the update from the total numbers, and these are in totality with COVID since 2 years ago. That's how the state tracks the numbers. The state of Connecticut is at 654,786. Litchfield County is at 27,167, which is up 56 from Friday. Hospitalizations for the entire county of Litchfield is at 1, and that was up 1 from Friday. Friday we had 0 hospitalizations, which was great news. New Milford is at 4,808, which is up 16 from Friday. We are currently in the yellow grid, which is really down 2 from red. Most of the state was in but a couple months ago. Vaccine statistics for New Milford as of 3/10/2022, and that's with a 7 to 10 day look back. For first doses here in New Milford is at 22,614, which is 84.3% of the population. Fully vaccinated is at 20,644, which is 78.91%. And for those that choose to get their first dose, second dose, a booster shot, or fourth dose that are immune compromised, we do have the clinic that's still operating on Wednesdays. And you can go to www.newmilford.org. It will then refer you to the district website where you can apply to get registered for that. COVID testing, we continue to do that for PCR for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Same thing, go to www.milford.org to register. Also, in speaking to Lisa Morrissey, they have also, the district is also offering rapid PCR testing at Pettibone, Monday and Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Also, want to do some quick thank yous. Want to thank our Youth Agency Director, Jason O'Connor, who is here, Chief Ceruto, the men and women of the New Milford Police Department, and the Center for Empowerment and Education, as on the 21st of March, we are going to be addressing bullying with a community program at the MAC Center. Then also on the 22nd, the Youth Agency, in tandem with Western Connecticut Coalition, is going to be talking about vaping and its effects on youth. Also want to talk a little bit about, as we talked about here in the fall, is our kind of town partnership with film production with the company that's coming out. And the cameras began to roll in New Milford on the movie The Thursday Night Club. That began on March 9th in New Milford. The feature-length film is based on the novella by five-time #1 best-selling author Stephen Manchester. Tells the story of a group of college best friends who face of tragedy, embark on a series of charitable Christmas projects to help the lives of others. The film is going to be planned release in November 2022, and they're going to be shooting at various locations in New Milford. Director Valerie Smald said she fell in love with this town, and they're excited, and there's going to be more films in the works that we'll be talking to the public and the council about. So we're excited about that. Absolutely, they're going to use our name, New Milford, which is awesome.
And they're going to put snow down again?
I think so.
Probably.
I think so. And I also want to congratulate the girls' 6th and 7th grade basketball team on an undefeated season and championship. Great job to the ladies. And the boys' 5th grade basketball team, they played Norwalk, and they won the championship game against Newtown. Last second buzzer shot, 32-30, so congratulations to them. So great job. Also want to thank Jasmine Dewson, our Senior Center Director, as they're beginning their program, Aging Mastery Program. That was developed by a National Council of Aging, and helping other older adults build their playbook for aging. And they were one of the first organizations in Connecticut selected to offer this program. And they did one that was talking about the continent of Africa. And it was exciting to see that. So outstanding. Library construction project continues. We talked about before, we're looking at an opening sometime in June. As you can see, the town hall project continues on. Standing seam roof up here. They're actually ahead of schedule. Continuing to work on the New Milford High School roof. As they are working there, they had some delays, obviously, because of the fire and then because of the pitch of the roof and the winter weather and the ice that we have, and they're working forward. And lastly, I'd like to announce today, Senator Chris Murphy's office confirmed that the U.S. Senate passed fiscal year 2022 omnibus spending bill last Thursday, including the congressionally directed spending request of New Milford put forward in June for $1,719,855 to facilitate the accessibility improvements to Butterbrook Apartments. President Biden signed the bill into law on Friday. Once the relevant agencies assigned by the Senate and the House Appropriations Committees fully approve the projects and all contracts are in place, the town of New Milford will manage the project with the assistance of the Municipal Building Committee to ensure it meets federal, state, and local compliance and contract requirements. The sprawling 5-building Butterbrook complex requires accessibility improvements to meet current Americans with Disabilities Act compliance standards for residents. A preliminary assessment completed by 7270 with two architects for elderly housing management indicated several areas of necessary modifications to meet ADA standards. The essential improvements are only some of the capital needs that exist at Butterbrook Apartments. While elderly housing management reviews the capital plan for future renovations, The town of New Milford partnered with them to provide support for these critical improvements with a congressionally directed spending request. The residents of Butterbrook Apartments and their families will benefit from a safer and more code-compliant campus, relieving the concern for their safety in and outside of their apartments while using the campus amenities. I'd like to thank Tammy Rudin, our grant writer, for shepherding this through, and it's a great opportunity for us to get those federal dollars to help Butterbrook, and I'll be letting the council know as we continue on with this project.
Great news.
And that's what I got.
That's good. Okay, item number 8, I'd like to move to approve the request from Bank Street Investments for a road closure April 30th from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Bank Street, they'd like to close for an event. It will be from 4 to 7 p.m.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item number 9 would be discussion of possible ARPA funding for, we have 4 items. Mayor, you can take care of that?
Thank you, Katie. I'd like to address A first, and that's farms and farmer assistance. And a proposal was brought forth to the council, and I myself was able to speak to some of the farmers that are professional farmers. That's what they do for a living. And some of the things I mentioned to them, first they said they had 2 of their best years they've ever had due to COVID and people's kind of pivoting to locally grown produce and meats, which is great news for our farming community. I also let them know that through the ARPA funds that were approved by the town council for businesses, if they show a Schedule F, which they should as farmers, full-time farmers, they can access the $5,000 grant that's available through the ARPA funding, which is great news. There's also, when I was talking to them, they also let me know of some other programs that are both state assistance, federal assistance, that can help them with grants, with education, with knowledge base on how we do this. But there's more that we can do. So one of the things I would like to ask the council is we do have a farming history here. There's new farming methods. I would like to ask the council that we table this as we get further information. I do agree we need to do a needs assessment on this endeavor if the council so chooses to do so, where we bring in professional that this is what they do, this is how they do it. We can do it in a very thoughtful way, and I think that starts with a need assessment. So I would ask the council to do is if we could table this, bring some more information to you, the council. I am going to be asking those that are going to participate that because this is such a complex item, I mean, you're dealing with soils, you're dealing with climate, you're dealing with grains, you're dealing with fertilizer, you're dealing with farming, you're dealing with all sorts of stuff. Oh, yeah, honestly, that's way above my expertise, right? So I'm going to be asking that everybody who wants to give us input, that they put it in through writing so that we can give it back to not only the council, but as we go through the needs assessment, so that we're giving 100% of what information we do have, so it doesn't get miscommunicated through different channels. Is that okay with the council?
Mm-hmm.
Pete,
Joe?
real quick. Pete?
Yes.
How much were we were going to give to the farmers and farmer assistance?
So the request that was put in was for $150,000.
Okay. And what do we have left on that? I know I should know this.
188.
Okay. Thank you.
Joe?
I guess I just gotta yell out, so raise my hand.
Joe. Is that a comment to me? Just checking.
I appreciate the comments from the public tonight. You've heard me say them before, and we've seen things get out of control. It's about being respectful, coming up, giving us your thoughts. There's a lot of dynamics to farming, and I don't know it beyond my own garden in my backyard. But we need that input. We need the input from different perspectives. There's a lot. This is still a farming town. there's a lot of aspects, and I just want to say I appreciate the thoughtful and respectful comments from the public tonight.
Thank you, Joe. Mary Jane?
So I would suggest that we set aside money for the farms and farmer assistance. I mean, we've got 3 other, entities here that we're going to be allocating money for, and I don't know what your thoughts are about the other 3, but
I would recommend, Mary Jane, that we table all of it until we get a finality on this.
okay. So because I don't want to see the money spent and then, we come back and say there's nothing left for the farmers. Or-
Mary Jane,
So-
we can't take any action tonight. It's not,
Right.
it's
I
not
know.
on the
Okay.
agenda.
So,
It's just
but I just
discussion.
want to be sure that we're not going to,
Yeah,
allocate money for
we-
the others.
We can't take action on any one of these 4 unless we
Perfect. Okay.
make a motion.
So are you talking about putting together a committee, like an agricultural
I think before we
policy
even were to
committee?
do a committee is do a needs assessment. And in that needs assessment, I'm quite certain that there'll be a dialogue. We're gonna have to bring in some professionals. We're gonna have to bring in people that, in my opinion, know way more about this than we do.
You know what, I just want to share with everybody, my daughter who went all through school here in New Milford, Britt, went on to graduate school at Tufts for agricultural policy and nutrition. Currently is the director of organic and sustainable agriculture for Stonyfield, a big yogurt company. And this is her life's work. And this is where she lives in New Hampshire because that's where Stonyfield is located.
Could she be like a
But
visiting member?
I might be able to get her down here, but this is what she does all across the country. She's working on all this agricultural changes that that the Russos brought up some great ideas, and they're right on the money with what is going on in this country. Like cows are the number 4 contributor to methane. Believe it or not, the way we factory farm our cows, and it's the burping apparently, and it's what we feed them that is contributing to the methane, number 4. So the Russos are absolutely right. We have to make changes in our agricultural policy and the way we do things. And when I listen to her about what's going on in this country, it's a small thing to start on the local level, and it will build just like they suggested. So I think these people all need to be considered part of, a committee.
Katie?
No, you go.
Thank
I don't want to get yelled at again.
I just so there's not a,
Hold on, Katie's got the floor.
go ahead, Hillary. I know you
I
can't
just
see.
have one question. I think I heard the mayor say the amount of funds that are left, and I just wanted him to repeat that, or if you could send that out to us in a sheet.
Yeah, Hillary, I'll send all that out with the updated information on there for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Wasn't
welcome.
it 188,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so
188?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just, Mary Jane, I know your daughter does great work. So I just wanted to say that this thing about the funds that are available, as the mayor said, a farmer, a Schedule F, a real farmer, that's their livelihood, farmer, can apply currently. Before we do this, right? It's through the business money that's already been set aside through the economic development. If they can follow, the criteria for ARPA is you have had some loss, some change in things, then they certainly can do that now. I think there's a little misunderstanding that, if we table this, I don't want anybody out there who is in need of applying for funds to think they can't if we table this. That's all. I just want to make that clear, because if you are farming for a living and you've had this loss, in any way, shape, or form, you can find out all about it. There's a lot of paperwork to read through that they can apply, right?
Well, it's not. I'm on the committee that's deciding that, and it's not as hard as you say. If you can show you have a loss.
I didn't say it was hard.
Yeah.
I just said you have to look at the criteria. You can't just walk and say, well, I
Correct.
didn't have a good year.
Correct.
If you're filing your taxes, you need to be able to show that.
Correct.
You
If you had a really
that.
good year, unfortunately, it might be hard to get
Yeah.
that.
So I just don't want a misunderstanding, and I will also add that I think
The public, excuse me. We're having a meeting.
We don't have 2 meetings, my sister. We have 1 meeting.
So I'd just like to say that I think having a
a needs assessment is done, because we all know people who are farmers. I think what this family has to say is very topical, and we all want what's best for everybody. So I just think it's important that we do the needs assessment and talk to the people who are the farmers here, because what we might think, good or bad, might not be the case. And we'll only know that if we talk to the people who are actually the farmers here. We are a farming community, have been for years. So needs assessment to see what they need, talk to the people who have some input, such as this family over here, and they're feeling about the, getting rid of the fertilizers, and we all know that this can't continue forever. So I think that's the first step. That's a great idea, and from there, go forward into what we want to do. But please, if you're in need of funding, don't think that you have to wait for this wheel to turn its complete axis.
Chris?
Yeah, I think the needs assessment is the right next step. One fear I've got in all of this, and I've read the proposal, and there can be unintended consequences to some of these things. And I don't want to be part of a municipal government that tries to tell farmers how to farm.
Correct.
These are their businesses, it's their land. They get enough from the federal government and the state government, and quite frankly, OEMs for equipment, who don't even want to allow farmers to fix their own equipment anymore. So I think, talking to our professional farmers and understanding their needs and how we can help, rather than coming in with a plan that says, hey, we're from the government and we're here to help. We know how that goes. So I think a needs assessment, talking that segment of our community is really important. I think it's a great next step.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. One, we all received a letter in support of the proposal from a Colleen Fairchild.
Yes.
So can that be
Be in the
made part
minutes?
of the record?
Absolutely.
Part of the minutes, so do we need the copy?
Yep,
Or,
I think it's already there.
She's
But-
got it?
But if you'd like to submit it yourself,
I
you can
just
do
want to
that.
make sure,
Yep.
okay, all right. And we also
Yeah,
had,
this one's already in there.
Yeah, it is.
all right, and we also had heard from at least one member of the presenting group asking to be able to answer questions for us tonight while we're deliberating. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge there's more than one person here tonight who can answer some of our questions. So if we have questions for them, I'd like them to be able to do
Are we
that.
deliberating?
After-
We're not
hang on,
deliberating,
hang on.
we're tabling.
No, I know we're not deliberating,
Oh, okay.
but since they're here, they might have answers. You've done it before. The other thing is who's doing the needs assessment? What's the method? How's that happening?
So I think the
We'll have
method.
to look into that, won't we?
I think the method, what we're gonna look to do is first, talk to our farming community, local, see what the needs are for that, and then set up some people. For instance, Mary Jane just talked about her daughter. See if we can ask her for some help and some information, and then glean that, and then bring it back to the council, and then look at going to the next step, which my opinion would then be setting up a committee to take a look at it, with people that have experience, a knowledge base, and know how to talk about these issues.
And how are you choosing the farms?
But
Can I?
Can I just say something, Alex?
I'd like
A needs assessment, I just want to get the definition, so
Uh-huh.
we're all on the same sentence. A needs assessment is, you talk to the people you feel have needs. You ask them to come forward and tell you what their needs are. So that's what we would do,
Okay.
right? So that'd be
who's-
farmers.
Who's we? I'm asking
The
for the
council.
process.
And so the process would be, we would reach
Why not
out
us?
to our farming community, and that can be either through those that have already, that we know who they are, also through social media, ask them. You can talk with, beginning with a survey, or tell us what your needs are, so that we get everybody, from a small farmer all the way up to those that farm hundreds of acres. Once we get that data, that's gonna kind of point us, right, in the direction which is the needs assessment.
Okay.
From there, I think we then talk about this as a council, and then from there, we build upon what that need assessment might curtail, or how we move forward with that.
Because we don't really know.
And could I just say too, that we're sort of talking about two different things. We're talking about a need assessment, and then we're talking about a committee that would be something like a farming sustainability movement, right? Or how to help our farmers be more sustainable, what they want to be, or something that looks at all the the new emerging technology, the new
I don't think
emerging
we're talking
research
about that.
on healthy farming, but it seems like we're talking about two different things, right?
No, we're talking about a needs assessment. The rest of that you said may come from that, but we're not, as the mayor said, and we all said, that comes from the needs assessment, what we would do from there. You know, if you got all the farmers in this town together and they said, what we really need is some new equipment, what we really need is rain. I mean, you don't know, but they're the people that we should be asking. We should not be, as it was said earlier, you should not try to impose what any one of us thinks on somebody who's doing that job. I mean, you don't want to come in and tell a farmer what he should be doing, because that's his livelihood. So we'd like to hear from them, and I think it would be great to get a whole bunch of them here and ask them to do a survey or come in person. Why not have a round table? I mean, that's the way to find out, right?
Okay.
And then, Hillary, we can talk about where we would go and incorporate in those needs things such as the information on organic and et cetera.
Okay.
It's a longer process, and I think the better way to do it.
Yes.
So there's $188,000 left. To me, that's nothing. To me, that's nothing. To me, the 4 items left on the agenda will get nothing, because we are nowhere near the end of what's going to happen with COVID. And I have been saying for a long time already, since before I even got on here, that we shouldn't be spending as much as we are. So we're down to 188. I don't see any money for any other programs here. I think that 188, we don't need to acknowledge where it's going until over a year from now. And so to that end, I am very concerned that what we have done is rush to allocate funds, albeit some good causes, but still, we've made decisions as a town, because people have already voted on some of this, even though there are only 32 and 35 people in the room, that now we sit with zero money, really. So the point of having any more dialogue over any of these 4 items is moot, because...
So you're saying we should have a dialogue?
Right.
You can talk all you want, but it's
I would also like to
$188,000.
reiterate my point, because we have 309,000 left on my spreadsheet. We have not seen, I don't understand how you even got to 188. I'm sorry I keep bringing this up, but I have a calculation running of everything spent, including our last allocation, and my calculation comes that we have 309,000 remaining. So I really think we need to see the full list, so we're all in agreement on how much we have left.
Several times.
And I agree with tabling the rest of
That's
it.
what we need.
So
That's what we need.
if we're going to table this, is there any need to get into strident back and forth about this? I know, Alex, you mentioned how we've done these things, and that's in the past. There were things voted on and passed. We can't go back. That's water over the bridge, however you want to look at it. The way I look at it is, we're lucky we have this money, and if somebody out there needs it, we haven't discussed how much we would do on these 4 items, if anything. So I think that's why there's a needs assessment just on one alone.
Mary Jane and then Chris.
I would just like to suggest that, as far as the needs assessment goes, that we set up a time frame, so that, we're not, this isn't getting passed down for months and months and months. We need to roll on this.
Absolutely.
So if you can come back either to the next council meeting.
The next council meeting, I'll come back with a timeline.
Okay, and the
Come back
structure.
with kind of the game plan, so the
Okay.
council can look at it and review it. Is that okay with the council?
I mean, basically, you're telling the farming community to write in. I mean, I think you mentioned.
Or come in,
comments.
have them come in.
I think it
But
should
you also
be a
had
round table.
you also had a chance for people to write in what their needs are. That's part of a needs assessment. You wouldn't just come in and take an interview. The farmer would sit down, create whatever his needs list is, put that in writing, and submit it as part of the needs assessment survey, right? Now we're starting to gather that information that could be all shared
But
amongst
it's not
us.
just equipment, it is exactly
it's
what
never
we're
just
talking about,
equipment.
the whole agricultural policy.
The amount of money we
change.
have from ARPA is not going to help any farmer with equipment. If you've seen farm price equipment on farm
I know what
equipment,
they
it's
cost.
staggering. It could go in, you couldn't even buy something with what we have left.
Right.
But there are absolutely educational opportunities and things that people can learn, and I think, as the mayor stated, and many of us, put it in writing, what's your needs? We're working with a lot of different community colleges and other places to try to bring some education here. There's a lot going on in our farming community. I appreciate everybody that came in, but we have hundreds of farms here that are doing organic farming, that are doing all sorts of farming here, that I think those folks should have a seat at the
I
table.
think there's only one real organic farm here.
They'd have
There's
to
a lot-
be, they'd have
there's
to
a lot of
be a
people doing
farm
organic farming
that
here.
would fit the criteria though, Tom. You know, not me and you.
Chris?
Mayor, so I just want to review the process that we use for these funds, and I think it's a robust process. There was every nickel that has been spent has been gone to at least 2 council meetings where public comments were available at each. They were approved, the vast majority of them were approved unanimously. It then goes to the Board of Finance for their approval, where public comments, and then it goes to a public meeting where anybody in town can come up and comment and vote on it. So there's a narrative out there that there is some process that's underhand or something. It's not. It's in front of the public, and I believe anybody in the public can get a list of every nickel that's been spent.
Yep.
So
Yep. And the fact
And
that
the
there's only
fact that these-
35 people means that everybody else is happy
they're
with
comfortable
what
with what we're doing,
I mean,
yeah.
you're not gonna come and pat us
part
on
of
the
these
back.
funds, in terms of the timing of it, were meant to help recovery from COVID, from a government-induced lockdown. And we went to our department heads and how do we spend money wisely to benefit the taxpayers in the long run? And in my mind, every single one of them has done that. So you can, and these were all approved by either this council or the previous council. So I think it's a good process, and I don't think we should keep harping on it.
And myself too, as we were pointing out, that there's some conjecture that we spent the money too fast. The money was given to us to get us out of COVID.
That's right.
And to help us. Right now, inflation, and I'm gonna take the low end, is at 6%. It's more than that. Let's assume 6%. If we were to hold off on 7.9 million with a run rate of 6%, that's $474,000 in purchase that we would lose. Just off the bat. And that doesn't include material costs that are running at 20, 25, 30%. So some of these things that we're doing, I think, were prudent, were worth an investment, and are gonna pay off big-time dividends. So, just food for thought.
But 20% in the course of a year, not in the course of
Yeah,
a
right.
2-week, a month. I think
Oh,
you're.
you can
I mean,
really?
I totally
Oh, I'm
understand what you're
sorry.
saying,
So-
but I do. What I keep pushing back on is I don't think there's been a lot of transparency as far as the full list going out to the public.
You're using cliche again.
That's totally factually incorrect.
Okay.
That is just incorrect.
Factually incorrect.
That is, yes.
I'd
Well,
like to
we've
ask
got
that
a-
we bring
we've got
this
a plan.
discussion back to item 9
Yep.
and not talk about things that have already happened. and
Currently,
things
we
you're
have-
unhappy with. We can talk about that at another time, but let's stay with this item, please.
Do we have a motion on the floor to table these for the
Yes.
next?
They're not, they weren't up for vote anyways.
No.
Correct.
No.
Oh, to table just,
Are we discussing B, C, and D, or?
no,
We're gonna
seems like
take
the,
4 things.
yeah, as we'll table those, bring those back, we'll come up with a plan for how we do the needs assessment and moving forward with farms and farmer assistance to the council at the next meeting.
And Mayor, do we have, for item B, the HVA, do we have information on what,
That was sent to the
yes,
council already?
that's right, okay. The addiction services, sober house vouchers, we have talked about that. I know that
And that-
Justin is
And that
here.
had, was brought by Hillary with an additional
Right.
appropriation.
Right.
And then
Hillary,
we
how much
have,
did you say? I just want to.
After speaking with the head of Hope House, Phoenix House, Grace House, there's an additional 9,000 asked. So the total would be 33,000 total to be put to addiction services.
And then we had, some of the public had talked about ambulance training.
Right.
The fact that we're short and we're actually having a paid service. So that was, somebody had asked to put that on the agenda, so.
And may
we
I
put that
ask a
on.
question? Did that item come here from someone at the ambulance barn? Did Donna Hespy or somebody put that there?
No, that actually came from the public.
Oh, okay.
So, if that's okay with the council, we'll table and bring it to the next meeting.
Do you need a
Okay.
motion table or
Nope.
just table?
We'll just
No,
table.
we'll just table.
Okay.
Okay, so that
Next, we
brings
go in
us
executive
to
session.
item number 10, and I'd like to move that we go into executive session, asking Attorney John Tower, inviting Brian Lastra.
We have to take Hillary off.
Yeah. Yeah, Hillary, we have to hang up on you, unfortunately.
I have a second. Do we want to vote on that?
Okay.
All in favor?
All those in favor?
Everybody?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Hillary back in? You
Hillary,
want to text
are you
her, text her and tell her to just call back in or something? You have her cell?
We have to reopen
Can-
the conference call to do that.
Right.
Well,
we have one
Or can, or Mary Jane, you just call her and put her on speaker just for the
No,
last
you can't
meeting?
do that, Mike. You
Oh, you
have to do
can?
it by phone.
She might not even be there.
I know.
Well, let's see. Where would I be? Or where would you be, Mary Jane, if we were home and we had to get off the phone?
I'd be waiting to go back on.
2 items left. There are two.
Candy, no motions made, nothing decided on?
And during executive session, no motions were made, no votes were taken. Like to move that we return to regular session?
Second?
This is
She hears
there
music.
we go.
She hears music, she says.
A call cannot be completed as dialed.
Yeah, if she hears music, it's not.
Well, the meeting number you entered is invalid. Please re-enter the meeting number. If you are the meeting host,
You'll stay forever.
Hillary, are you on?
yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, so Hillary, I just moved that we return to regular session. There was no motions made or votes taken in executive session, and we have a second by Chris to return. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so now we're going to move to item number 11. And I will move that we approve the settlement as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank
Item
you.
11B, I'd like to move that we approve the tax.
Yeah, I was going to say Hillary.
Oh, I'm
should probably
sorry,
abstain.
Hillary. Abstain, that's right. Good point. Item 11B, move that we accept the tax assessor request to transfer funds in the amount of $61,000 from the contingency fund account 109-8000-589000 to tax assessor tax refund account number 104-13700-59500 to pay tax refunds due to overpayments.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
And item number 12, I'd like to move to adopt the revisions to the purchasing ordinance as approved in the public hearing of March 14th, 2022.
And the town council, last town council meeting.
Oh, yeah, and the town council meeting of February 28th.
Any discussion? We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Hillary.
Thank you.
Great job, Hillary. Way to hang in there.